not no ordinary podcast. It's a podcast where we dive deep into the realities of life. We question perspective. We question the truths that have been given to us. We're going to be going into things like philosophy, science, religion, spirituality. But tonight, we're going to be specifically going in and diving into dimensions. So sit back and enjoy the show. But first and foremost, while we get some people in, I'm going to go ahead and try to share this link. This is my second attempt. Hopefully, we're on.
And we're on.
We're on. Lovely. So we're just gonna wait a second, let some people come in. Let's get our tea together now.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's start with a prayer. What's up? Lord Jesus, come into our lives, come into this session. We pray that everybody here enjoys the show. I hope everybody gets to learn something and gets drawn closer to the truth of life. I hope and pray that everybody gets an understanding at the end of the day of dimensions and learn something new. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I know you might have a higher power. I don't judge, man. That's just my own higher power. And that's just what I like to do personally before the session. And we usually do it off camera, but today we did it on camera. So let's see if the numbers are going to go up. And we're going to make some tea. One. Just. It's not bad. I like it. Chai. I know you guys can't see, but we're currently drinking chai.
Chai, just so y'all know. Batman, there we go. So chai tea.
Cheerio.
This on.
There you go. You want to switch? Just put it back to the top, please. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. We got anybody here with us? It's not showing me the numbers because the light bulb is directly where the numbers are supposed to be. We don't have anybody. Okay, that's going to be hard for us to work through, but that doesn't matter who's here, right? It does not matter. We're going to enjoy the show anyway. It took a week for us to come up with a lot of the stuff that we have, and we can't wait to dive into it with you guys, dissect it, and ask some really deep questions.
There we are. We're going to ask some questions, really get into the real nitty-gritty details on the existence of reality itself. What are the dimensions? What is a dimension? By the way, do you know what a dimension is?
I'm sure I'm going to find out right now, right? If we don't know, we're going to know, right? So that is the main question, right? Before we even get into it, what is a dimension?
Well, a dimension it's a framework, right, to describe reality, right? Movement, direction, length, width, even time. That's sort of the basic explanation of what a dimension is. Right? In the same way, like an architect looks at a blueprint, like what are the dimensions of the house or foundation, right? Or even going to a tailor, getting a suit repair, right? It takes your dimensions, takes the size of your head,
right,
waist.
So in a nutshell, dimension equals a measurement of perception.
Right, at least within the basic understanding of it, right? More scientific explanation of what a dimension is.
Right. That's a more like if I was to say it just plainly, that's a measurement of perception, really.
Yeah. Perception, yeah.
Perception. Yes, it's a measurement of what we could perceive within that perception itself. Right?
Generally.
Right? Yeah. Because I want you to picture yourself. Let's discuss how our perspective can change basically when it's viewed from different dimensions, right? Because that's what I mean by measure of perception, because you can't measure something you cannot see, right? So,
well, not so much see, but like we can't see atoms, but we can measure it, right? We're able to see, right, or effects of something,
right? So that's we're able to measure it. But if something's outside of our dimension, we're not able to even comprehend its existence. Out of our perception. Therefore, it's out of our capability of being able to measure.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So let's discuss. All right. All right. All right. Okay. So, what I want to understand, what I want to do now is talk about the first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth, right? Because each dimension has its own view. You know what I mean? So,
Right, it has its own framework of reality.
right, right. So, for the first dimension, I'm gonna let Drew get into the dimension, and then I'll try to kind of dumb it down, kind of. So, Drew, go ahead.
Right. So the traditional
Oh,
understanding.
we got some comments. I'm so sorry, guys. Becky Thomas, hi, hi, hi. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. We're going to be talking about dimensions tonight. If you want to comment, please feel free to. Just keep it respectful, guys. Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi, hello, welcome.
So we're talking about dimension one. What is the perception of dimension one?
Right.
If you were living in a reality where all it was being from the first dimension, what would you see, feel, do, etc.?
Right. So the traditional understanding of the first dimension, it's length.
Right.
Just a line, right? That's all. It's just length.
Mhm.
So there's really not much more to really go on about that.
Well, so basically, a line,
A line.
and you can only go back and forth. You
Yeah.
couldn't go left and right. I should do it this way. So you have a line, and you couldn't go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So basically, like a ping pong game, can only go.
Can only go.
Excuse me.
Can only go.
Can only go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. In a way, that's his only. No, because they could kind of swing back and forth.
So there's only.
It's a plane. That
It's a
one's
plane.
actually 2D.
It's a plane.
Plane. Right.
Well,
So, excuse me.
So a plane. So that would be a plane, right? That would be 2D. Right? So one dimension is just one
Straight line.
one aspect of
One
that
straight
plane.
line, but then we go into okay, so that brings us to 2D now.
Right.
Okay.
So
plane.
a plane adds another dimension to length, which is width.
Right, and that's how we're able to play ping pong.
Right.
Well, ping pong, like go back and forth, because you have a square, right? In order for a dimension to be a square itself, it has to be two-dimensional.
Right. So squares, triangles, connected polygons. That
surface
that like they were able to draw on paper. Those would be 2D representations.
Right.
Right. So
space would be the next one.
Depth.
3D.
Depth. Right.
Which right.
All right. Space. Yeah. Space.
Depth is the next one. Depth.
So that the 3D world is what we live in, right? We're able to we have access to 3 dimensions, right? We'll get into what scientists, why people consider it to be the fourth, but generally we live in a 3-dimensional world, where there's width, length, and depth.
Right.
Right. So we get cubes, pyramids, prisms.
Yeah.
Do you know who Carl Sagan was?
I do, because we're going to be getting into him. But before we go into him, I do want to. There's a. It's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. Isn't that
So that's when we explain, right? So if y'all who don't know, right, I'll just go into it. Carl Sagan was a astrophysicist who was very popular in the 1980s, early 90s, and he kind of brought science to the masses in a way, right? He wrote a book, even had a television series called Cosmos, right? A Personal Voyage, right? So if y'all are familiar with the more recent revamping of it with Neil deGrasse Tyson, Carl Sagan did it before him.
I'm not familiar with the with it.
So the series was more about explaining different topics of science to make it more tangible, digestible, relatable to the public, right? So we talk about topics like evolution, early philosophers, early scientists like Copernicus or Aristophanes with the shadow experiments, proving that the Earth is round.
Right.
And he also did this neat little video on dimensions, particularly leading into the 4th dimension. And so he gave this little example, right? They called it Flatland, right? Where these 2-dimensional creatures are going about their business.
And this would be stick figures in a way.
Like, not so much stick figures, but like shapes. Like there was completely flat, right? And the shapes, they could only see what was in front of them, but they could only see like lines and different
Right, because they
rotations
couldn't
of
see
that.
they wouldn't be able to see the width, the thickness of them. They
Yeah.
always just see a
Yeah, they
thin
don't,
line.
they don't only see
A line.
that line.
Right. So if you took this pen and you zoomed out 100 times super far, it would just look. And especially if I had it like this. Okay, for instance, right here, you can't tell that it's a pen if you look at it from here. That's one dimension. So that's probably the only way they were able to see. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they can only see. So in 2D, they saw the whole plane.
This way then.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. This way. Okay, makes sense. So, but okay, so so that theory would. Okay, continue. I apologize. Go ahead.
So what would it be like if?
Because what is? I'm sorry to cut you off, but what does that have to do with the time? Because you said that the fourth dimension equals time. How does he get those two to connect?
Right. So I didn't get that far yet.
Right. I apologize.
But so the question is, what would a like two-dimensional creature experience a third-dimensional being? Right.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
So,
I think a third you could see lower dimensions, but dimensions higher can't see.
So what he did was he took an apple, right, and kind of like put it in ink and stamped it, right, and the apple, right, the three-dimensional apple is not limited to just that plane, so it has depth. They can see above it, right? But the 2D creatures, right, the squares and the triangles, they can't
The
see
print
it.
that it made itself.
So when it enters, right, it can only see the points of contact on the surface. So it can't. It can
once it's uncontacted, as no.
No, I can't see it, right? But it only sees the point of contact. It'll only see like
The print that I made.
print. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Right. You can only see a slice of it.
I like your purple notebook. Thank you so much. This is for me taking notes. We do a lot of work into the podcast. This is a whole bunch of layout and stuff like that.
Take your time on this one.
Yeah.
Now everything's about you.
But yeah, okay. So the fourth dimension.
So yeah, the fourth dimension, right, is generally referred to time, right? It's
Right.
not necessarily a physical dimension. It's a temporal dimension. Temporal meaning time, right?
Right.
And so somebody, so we're in the third dimension, right? So how would a fourth dimensional entity?
That's what I just. Sorry, go ahead.
So how would a fourth dimensional entity, or how would we perceive that, right? So we're kind of limited by the sequence, the flow of time, right? We have past, present, and future, right? Whereas the fourth dimension isn't limited to that. They see all the time, all at once. Like just how like the third dimensional being, like the apple is able to see flatland all at once.
Right.
See,
right. But the flat land can't see that.
Right. So we can't see it all the time, all at once. We can't see or possibly even perceive, per se, in this physical realm that we are in, past, present, and future, right?
But they can in the higher
but
dimension.
we're only able to experience the present.
Right. So we're able to take part in time. So would you say that those beings that are out of the dimension of time, they're not even partaking in time?
No.
So technically, we're the ones partaking in time.
Yeah. But that's the kind of overlap. That's kind of like how we're
Don't spam. Yeah, thank you guys. We really appreciate it if you don't spam, guys. We thank you everybody for commenting. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you guys agree or don't agree, whatever it is. We just appreciate you guys being here with us. Thank you.
Yeah, your presence matters to us.
Yes, it truly does.
So in the same way, like us experiencing time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the shadow of the fourth dimensional time, right?
Yeah.
In our physical, it's a 3D representation of a fourth dimensional concept. Even though we experience time, but we're not experiencing the full aspect. We're only seeing slices of it.
So you said there's more. There's more that There's more. There's more time. There's more to time than what we perceive.
Right. So,
and I think that's sorry to cut you off. I think that's super true for the simple fact that time within itself is such a questionable thing for us. You know what I mean?
Right. Because we're confined confined within
it.
Right. And like the same way with existence, right?
Yes.
We're confined within the limitations of those dimensions.
Right. Imagine being right, and I'm pretty sure maybe some of our viewers could relate. I personally, I've been confined places before. No more locked doors.
No more locked doors.
And I just knew, as creatures, we're not meant to be behind cages or in one particular place for a very long time. So I feel like as we're stuck in this thing of time, we're trying to realize how can we go into the future? Can we go into the past? Of course, that's going to be a thought because that's the only thing that's keeping us caged in as a species.
Well, it's interesting, right? We'll touch on this, as we progress. But you mentioned cages and so to speak,
That's going to be next too.
Yeah. In prisons. All right. So right. So we get that. So
Because it flows.
Right. So I just want to finish this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we'll get into it later, but I just want to kind of plant the seed. Us being in a specific dimension, it can necessarily be a prison or a cage because we're confined.
Yes. Our dimension is our prison. Absolutely. We're confined to our dimension, okay, so we've discussed already, the fundamentals of what is dimension, right? We talked about the first dimension, the second dimension, third dimension, possibly what we perceive as the fourth, which is time, right? First dimension is a line with only lengths, right? Then we go into 2D, which is you see thickness as width. And then 3D is space, the 3D world that we live in, right? And then 4D, what we perceive as time.
Right.
Some beings, like
if they are right,
yeah, okay, depending on your understanding of life and beliefs, that being that's on the next dimension wouldn't perceive time like we do, right? And we also learned that if you're seeing something from the first dimension, you want to be able to see the second. The second can see down, so third can see two, but two can't see three, right? And it keep going. That's why we're limited to the perceptions that we have.
Right. So there's like this hierarchy of structure of reality that flows. That's top down.
Yes, exactly. So it shows growth. It shows, and so we're going to talk about another thing that me and Drew talked about this, right? Okay, I won't spam. I'm sorry. Yeah, no spamming. But if you want to ask some questions, or like if you guys want us to elaborate something, please feel free to ask, guys. And I'm not sure who's here. We have 4 people here, so thank you so much to the people that are here. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe. So something that we perceive that I personally perceive as another dimension, I think it's energy. I think energy itself is a dimension.
So that's also, like we said, going back to our working definition of a dimension, right? It's a framework to describe reality, right?
Right.
So energy can very well fit into that definition, right? It's just not within the mainstream narrative of classical physics or
right. Which there's many. This is what I love about dimensions. It's not like every other science. That is the only science where people are okay to say, "Fucking no, we don't really know anything. We think that this is beyond what our perception."
Right.
It only leaves spot for theory.
Right.
Like not so much as no, you're wrong, you're right. Because I'm not so much as you're wrong, you're right. I like getting my information and going from there.
All right, and when we say theory, right, I just want to make a little clarification about the word theory, right? So there's the word theory that's in everyday use, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll have a theory that
we didn't start with our themes. Sorry.
No, it doesn't matter. Or I have a theory that the Giants are going to win the whatever, the Mets or the Knicks are going to win the whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Or I have a theory, whatever, right? That's kind of like the
6 people,
like the general everyday use of the word theory. But when you use it in a more scientific lens, right? A theory is a well supported explanation of natural phenomena, right? So, like the theory of gravity, right? It's based off of observations and experiments, right? Or the theory of
Not feeling.
not feeling, right?
Right.
Or the theory of evolution, right? Where there's studies in genetics and look at the history of life, right? Or the how species change, right? And or adapt to their environments, right? So all that is supported by observations and evidence, right? Is it complete?
It's ever changing because we're ever changing.
It's ever changing, right? So, but theories towards trend towards as complete as they can be based on the available information.
Right.
So when you really break that down, right, a theory, right, also is a story, right? So and a story doesn't need to be false, right? So in the same
And you can have parts of one story really missing another part.
Right.
So you could very well have this equation
Yeah.
mapped out here, but it's just this part of the equation over here, that part's not adding up.
Yeah.
But this won't add up unless this adds up. So you know you got to fix something here.
So either so we're going to stick with this side of the equation, right? These terms, right, and see what can we tweak on this side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, right, it's still a story. Everything is a story, right? And the story can have a very charged meaning behind it. It might be it can be loaded, right, emotionally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, especially
so,
if it's constructed by a human, right?
Right. Yeah, right. So in the same way, like how theory has differences in its context, right? Story has that same thing too.
Yeah.
So not all stories are false, right? So when people say, "Oh, he's a storyteller," "Oh, he's this, that, whatever," that's one aspect of the word story.
Mm-hmm.
But stories, we've been telling stories for as long as we've been humans, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
More
And
or
I
less
feel like
60.
also we've been observing for as long as we've been humans and trying to understand our surroundings.
So if you look at it, right, so the myths, right, and the stories of ancient peoples, right, those were the theories of the time, right, based on the available information and evidence that they had.
Right. Unlike people like who were ahead of their time, whose theories weren't proven until years later.
Yeah, even hundreds of years after.
Right.
Death.
You can only assume that they were on a different plane in life, like mentally.
Right. We'll get into planes too.
Right. This actually kind of leads to our next subject, which is consciousness may operate beyond physical dimensions.
Yeah.
Which I totally believe that. And that kind of leads into the
Okay.
it kind of leads into that a little bit, but I think consciousness itself is its own dimension.
Yeah, or at least in a mode of operation, right? So we're able to access these dimensions, perceive them through our consciousness, right?
Right. Okay. And so it's basically
it's the engine.
Yes. Great way. Great. It's the engine. Yes. Or is our body the engine?
It's the vessel. Our body is the vessel.
The vessel.
Like a car, right? And you have the outer metal frame, right? And then
but you're not gonna go anywhere.
Right, but the engine is what drives it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's what It's what makes it a car.
Yeah.
Your brain is what makes you a person.
Yeah. Well.
I guess that's debatable.
Let's not go too far ahead, right?
Yeah, not go too far, right? Do we have anybody here? Yeah, we got a person here. Hit that like button, guys. Hit that comment section. What do you think about this dimension talk, man? Do you think consciousness may operate beyond our physical
reality?
Yep. Thanks for finishing. Right? I mean, what do you think? I really do want to know.
Yeah, and if anything, we've already said. If you want more clarification on it, or if you just enjoy the conversation, let us know.
And if you're viewing this video and it's not live, you're viewing it later, do me a favor and still hit that comment section. If we're wrong about something or I need some correction on them, I don't claim to have all the answers. No. What I do claim is to ask every question that people are scared to ask because they think it's perceived as too stupid or they don't want to get shunned. That's what I do, and I do it live on air so everybody can make fun of me and call me dumb. And I don't mind.
But I do it all the time. Right?
Exactly, man. You know? But then this leads to our next point here, discussion. Our dimensions experimental states instead of geometric levels?
Layers. So
Do you?
I think those are. I'm good.
You could do.
I think those, so being experiential and geometric are overlap with each other, right? Because a dimension can be geometric, right? But we're still able to experience it, right? So that's what experiential means. We're able to experience it.
Right. So, okay, let me ask the viewers questions. So, what if consciousness is bigger than the physical body itself, basically, right? What if consciousness itself is shifting after death, and we're still perceiving death because that's the dimension that our minds go to? You know what I mean? Our soul, actually, our soul is in that dimension, therefore it never dies. It's a really good question. Hit the comments. What do you guys think?
I think that line of questioning also leads into something else, but
well, there's a question here that I wrote down here. Whether other dimensions can be infinite or beyond current human perception. Well, that's absolutely 100% for the second part of that. Beyond human perception. Is it infinite? Well,
we don't know.
We don't know, but we do know that there's something out there called the string theory.
String theory, right?
Right, and I know this guy's been waiting for this part. Like, he loves string theory. Let me see. We got 3 people in here, guys. Listen, please stay in here. You're gonna like the next couple discussions. These are gonna be nice. I personally, I'm not the best with string theory. He knows a lot about it, and I'm gonna ask questions that everybody's scared to ask. All right, because it doesn't make that much sense to me. But just to finish this last thought, let you go. I'm sorry. Infinite? I don't think dimensions are infinite. To say they're infinite, I feel like would be like there's. I think people want to see this way beyond.
Yeah.
A creature in the first dimension would perceive a creature in the second dimension as their god. Right? I'm going to repeat that again for the people here, right? The 6 people here now. The people who are living in the first dimension will perceive the second dimension people as gods. So us living in the third dimension, if the God that is out there can very well be in the perception or dimension higher than we are, right? So he's able to interact with us, but we're not able to interact with him. He could probably hear our thoughts.
Right.
Our prayers could very well always be being heard because he's in that higher dimension.
So you're touching on something, but we're gonna expand into this later after we get through string theory.
Yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't do
that's
string
good,
theory in there. I was really excited for that one, but let's start back. Thank you.
But it will tie back.
It will. Just remember that, guys.
Let's tie back into it. So, what's string theory, right? Are you familiar with string theory? Do you know anything about string theory?
Oh, we're gonna get into it right now. What is string theory, Drew? What is string theory?
All right, so string theory, right? So let me give you some context, right? So this is before the development of string theory per se, right? We start with general relativity, right? So general relativity is basically E equals mc squared, right? Einstein.
Can you explain that? Like what? Isn't it the formula to understand?
So E equals mc squared. So energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, right? And in general relativity, offers the explanation of space itself is curved, right? So think of it as a 3-dimensional plane, right? And there's these wells, right? That these objects, right, have mass, right? So that kind of imprints onto that, let's say, fabric, right? Fabric of space-time, right? So say you have like a sheet, right? And you put a ball in the center, right? That sheet bends with it.
You've made sense of so many videos that I've watched on string theory. In just 3 little minutes.
And I didn't even get into string theory. That's just general relativity.
Yeah, because I used to always get confused Okay, well, no, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
General relativity, I was very confused with what it meant, but because the item itself holds weight, the plane,
Mass.
the life around it is going to be affected by that weight.
Yeah.
Therefore, affecting that fabric
Right.
of that reality.
Right. And so when objects orbit that mass, right, they go around that bend that is created by that impression in the fabric of space time, right?
Right.
Right. So, and then, so far, right, general relativity has made waves throughout the scientific community, right? There's been so much predictions that has been able to make effectively verifying itself, right? Um, but
I'm still here. I just want to support you on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much, Becky Thomas.
thank you.
We really do
it.
appreciate your support. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and let us know, man. If you want to jump into the conversation, please feel free to do it.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate your support. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. You would be our 87th subscriber and counting.
And counting, right? And so the thing with general relativity is, right, it works, right, to a certain extent. But when you get into quantum mechanics, right, so general relativity is very good at explaining the very large, right, the macro scale of the universe, right. But when you go into the macro scale, the microcosm, right, of when you get to the subatomic particles, right.
So is that smaller than atomic level?
Yeah,
Subatomic.
subatomic.
So
right?
it'd be atoms and even smaller than atoms.
Yes. Right.
That theory falls apart.
Not so much falls apart, but it doesn't have an explanation, right?
Because things react differently on that level.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sort of, right. And so when you look at, so gravity's been an issue, right? Right. So general relativity explains the forces of nature, right? The four fundamental forces, right? Which are
the forces around us that we perceive in our dimension. We're trying to make understanding of what we have around us.
right. Yeah. So the fundamental forces of nature, right, is the electromagnetic force.
Yeah.
Right. The strong and weak nuclear force, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those
energy itself as well, or
no. So those would be considered forces on energy, right? So the strong nuclear forces what are to keep particles together. So
that comes before energy even created.
Well, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred into forms, which is that's the second law of thermodynamics, which is a different branch of science. But
no, I'm saying so. In this small scale level, if these atoms aren't working, it would cause like a not domino effect on the bigger scale.
More or less, but so general relativity explains those, and also explains gravity, right, on the macro scale, right. But when you get really really small, right, gravity tends to behave differently, right? Particles behave differently.
But is it because they hold less mass?
I don't have the answers for.
Nobody has the answer, but it seems.
I don't have the. Well,
right. I mean, I think it would make much sense because gravity is affected. Is only affected because mass is involved.
Everything that has mass, even if it's.
Right, but then we're obviously when we get to the subatomic level, then we're obviously crossing a boundary where it's becoming the mass is so light that it's not interacting with the atoms the way our atoms would. Am I explaining this right?
Surprisingly okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll be losing. Listen, I talk a lot faster than I think sometimes. So okay, so what I was saying. Go ahead.
So on these smaller scales, right? General relativity kind of breaks down, right? So
right,
and gravity is one of those issues where it's not really reconciled, right?
But I think the answer to that is because mass is becoming to a point where it's almost non-existent. That's that it doesn't have mass.
That's a valid question for somebody who
actually knows, right? Okay, let me write that down. Who doesn't know but knows more than We do. You're damn right. What was the question itself? I'm sorry, I don't want to lose it.
All right, so this is I'm gonna explain the
Go ahead,
concept
I got it.
into string theory, right? And so when you look at the quantum realm, right, our basic understanding of reality breaks down, right? So we see in this reality, right, in the giant world, macro world, it's not the same. It
Yes,
behaves
because
differently.
we're affected by weight.
So not
Strongly
weight,
affected
so
by mass, not weight,
mass.
mass. Sorry, we're strongly affected by mass. Everything on our universe is tied together by mass.
Yeah.
So on a micro level, is mass a thing?
So,
It has to be some kind of mass, but we're talking about 0.00000 of a mass. I mean, that could be a freaking lighter than a feather.
right. So
It's almost non-existent. Sorry, I do that a lot.
You're not sorry.
I
No,
love
you're
you.
not. So these questions, right? These branch off into different kind of other things, right? So I'm trying to keep it contained.
I am. I'm sorry. I do that a lot, buddy.
Trying to keep it contained.
Over there's gonna be cringing the whole time that I watch it. Do you have a question? I'm hungry. Do you have any cookies?
No, what the?
No cookies. But we do have dimension talk. So back to string theory.
Right. And so when you look at these structures, right, our basic understanding of reality kind of breaks down and dissolves in what we observe in the quantum realm, right, the quantum world, and that really shows us the limits of our own understanding, right? And so this is where string theory kind of comes into play, right? And so what has made string theory very attractive as a attempt to unify
Quantum.
general relativity and like the standard model, right? So we have our basic particles of matter, right? Which have fermions, which are the matter of those the particle of those matters, right? And then you have bosons, right, which are kind of like act as forces, particle forces or waves, right, onto the matter, right? So you have things like you have the neutron, proton, electron, right? Those basic, right? And then you have quarks, which make up the protons and neutrons. And then you have bosons, right, which are like gluons, photons, the Higgs boson.
These are stages of atoms.
Particles, not
Particles.
atoms. Not atoms, right? It's
Okay.
what make up atoms, right? And atoms make up everything, right?
Right, but then so we have it starts with this one kind, and a lot of those will create this one kind. A lot of those will create this one kind. A lot of those create the atom.
So,
a lot of atoms create this, and it keeps going.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
so everything is made from fine molecule, fine.
Not even molecule, particle.
Particle, right? That's a way bigger particle. So is particle the smallest level?
So what string theory offers, right? And also say, so to continue what I was saying, the reason why string theory is such an attractive, strongest candidate to kind of make this theory of everything, right? In an attempt to kind of reconcile gravity and quantum mechanics, right? Because that's been the ongoing scientific battle or struggle to understand reality itself, right? Is to have this theory of everything that neatly explains reality, right? And so what string theory does, we're not going to get into the math or the equations of what the string theory is, or the terms or whatever. But string theory instead proposes, right? Instead of what's called point particles, right? So particles as these points, these particles are instead strings or like bands, right, that vibrate. In the same way, like a guitar has strings, right, and depending on how they vibrate, produce different notes. So
that way, the same strings can produce different atoms.
Right. So based on particles, right?
Particles, you call them atoms.
So based on the frequency and vibration of these strings or bands, create these particles, right? And so one thing of string theory, right, was able to at least predict the presence of what's called a graviton, right, which is this particle or string that explains gravity in a quantumly, right? It explains gravity in quantum mechanics.
So can you explain quantum?
Very small.
I know. I just don't know if the people knew. Did you know what quantum meant? A very, very small scale.
Very small. A very, very, very small.
Tiny, 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 tiny.
Tinier than tiny.
Tinier than tiny.
And so with the graviton, right, it was able to show how gravity works, right? So in the same way how general relativity describes gravity, it explains it differently. But the math works everything out. It has the same function.
If string theory was right.
Right.
So it's basically like solving backwards. That's what we did. Try to, like, if you have an equation, 5 plus 5, right? Or 5 plus 9, or 5 plus 4, let's say, right? You could do 5 take away, or 9 take away 5 to come up with 4 to make sure 4 plus 5 equals 9.
That would be a way to check your work.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But that's what they did with quantum stuff. They
That's a way to put it.
Right?
Right.
They couldn't prove that it worked unless they plugged it into something else and checked it.
But there's still a lot of, so in order, right? So we understand, right, that we have these three physical dimensions in one temporal dimension, time, right? Mm-hmm. So we have these 4 dimensions, right? So in order for these strings, right, in order to behave in the way that they do and explain gravity in the quantum realm, 4 dimensions isn't enough, right? So string theory adds like 5 other dimensions, 6 other dimensions, right?
9.
So we have this
so
9
it'd
dimensions.
Be 9 total,
right? So when you plug all the math in, right, and on these other dimensions, right, that we cannot perceive, but are theorized instead that they're compactified onto each other, right, or on the other dimensions. So we can't see them, but they're there.
And when you say compacted, it's like how our life, we have 3 dimensions compacted in time.
More or less.
So they could
have. So imagine like you see a straw, right, and there's this little ant crawling on it, right? So to us, right, we perceive that the ant can only go up or down the straw, but the ant can also go around the straw too. So depending on our distance or our perception, we can't see that that's a hidden dimension that it can go, that it can travel. So that's kind of a way to operationalize what compactification means, right? Got it. And so what these 9 other dimensions are, we have no idea because we can't perceive them. And that's one of the criticisms
I don't know who you are. Without call me back.
And that's one of the criticisms. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Please do not make comments on here unless it's going to be about the subject and on him, please. Thank you.
Much appreciated. And so these dimensions are compactified, right? And so because we can't say that because we can't perceive them, how can we prove them? How can we verify them, right? But because the math is so elegant, so beautiful, so somewhat can even say precise, it kind of matches with with this theory, right? And so, but that's why string theory can't necessarily be 100% verified, but it can't be dismissed, right? Because the math works out, right? And so, in order to kind of explain these other compactifications, right? And based on how, so when a particle moves, right, we see them, they're like, so a point particle moves here to here to here, right? It goes here, right? But instead, right, so if in string theory, that particle instead is a band, right? And it can move, right? Think of like a rubber band, right? And it moves. it can also split itself, come back together, rejoin, and there's different points where it can detach and reattach, right? So
Almost like if you ever tried to cut you off. You ever seen those magnets? There are little circles and it's a long line.
yeah.
The magnets,
Yeah.
it's like that, and they can come apart.
Yeah.
But they also need to join back up
Yeah.
where the magnets meet.
Yeah.
They wouldn't join opposite magnets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that would be, say, a 3D representation of that.
That's
And so these particles, right? So in quantum mechanics, right? Quantum physics, it's all about probability, right? And what is the probability of this string ending up at whatever position it goes to, right? So it kind of just every possible configuration of movement and attachment, right? Kind of gives us the numbers or the percentage of where it would be, right? And so so that brings up another point too. I want to mention when you've heard of the double slit experiment, right? So this was like early 1900s. They had this gold sheet, right, and they put these slits in it, right, and shot photons at it, right, and when you saw, right, when you observed the particles, right, so you do a blind test, right? So first you don't look at it, right, and the particles go wherever they go. But when you observe, the act of observation affects their trajectory, right? And so a lot of people have interpreted that as observation equals we're able to our consciousness is able to affect matter, right, or something, right? But I've also heard somebody say that because those particles are so small, right, in order for us to see them, light has to bounce off of them in order to reflect back into our eyes. And because their mass is so small, that light affects
before we have a chance to
perceive it, right? So that's why it appears our active observation affects its trajectory.
Well, how come in his closed experiment it showed that how was he able to observe it? Like how was he able to experiment it if we can't observe those particles at that level?
So at that time we were able to, right? So light, right? So able to see where the light goes through these slits, right? And
okay.
all right, yeah.
Okay.
And
so, but
and so back.
That's on a larger level scale than he would even.
Yeah,
really.
so that would be like larger than quantum, right? But that's where we get the particle wave collapse function, right?
All your comments are being redacted. I don't know what you're saying, but you're obviously saying something that is being blocked. Please stop commenting like that. If you're not going to comment something constructive or positive, just don't bother because it will be blocked. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And so to sort of also kind of explain that trajectory or that probability of a particle going somewhere, right? There's been extensions of string theory, right, which are called superstring theory, right? And there's actually 5 main different theories, right? But they're also pieces of a larger puzzle, right? So it's not one is more correct than the other. It just shows a different layer or aspect of that reality. And so there's this one called M theory, right? And sort of to simply say, right, I'm not going to get too much into it per se because there's a lot to it and there's still a lot about it that I don't know. But what I do know about it, I'm at least able to comment on or at least share the information with you. There's these things that were proposed, right, on these bands, right? And they're called spinners, right? Spelled SPINORS, right?
Spinors,
right? But the spinners, right? And that these spinners spin around in the band, which cause different possible trajectories and motions of where that string will end up, right? And so when you plug that math in, right, instead of 9 dimensions, right, you have 11 dimensions. So
That's M theory.
and yeah, that's M theory, which is an extension of string theory, also called super string theory. And with these other dimensions, right, you get into, that's where we kind of get the idea of parallel or multiple universes from.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like realities that are unseen to our layers. Right. All right, man. That's
That was a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's just basic understanding of
Yeah.
it. It's to my basic understanding.
That's really basic to me too. Some stuff I didn't know, some stuff I know. But that is string theory and M theory in a nutshell. And so we went through Carl Sagan's. We did Carl Sagan, right?
Yeah. Great guy.
Great guy. Great scientist.
Love his videos. If you guys in your free time want to watch this series or purchase this book, Cosmos Personal Voyage.
That's next. And then we're going to jump from that to that.
Yeah.
Or no.
Well, Carl Sagan also talked about that too.
This?
Yeah.
So let's jump back to this.
Yeah, okay.
Because,
we'll
and then we'll do that
we'll
and
close this matter off real quick.
And parent,
Yeah.
that and parent.
Yeah.
So there's a spot here I want to do with you guys. Those two are connected here. Yeah. Carl Sagan, he was the creator of this?
Not the creator of it.
So who made this? What am I talking about? The Tesseract.
The Tesseract, right?
So did you guys ever? Okay, sorry. I just like to see if there's people here or not. The light bulb is kind of right in the way. So thank you to the person who's here. Hit that subscribe button, guys. We really do appreciate your time. You ever heard of the Tesseract? Have you ever watched the movie? What was it? The Avengers? Come on, Loki. He had the Tesseract, the blue cube. You know what I'm talking about. So that cube right there, right, is who's the creator? Who made it?
So the name of the guy who kind of formulated this, I don't have the exact name, but
we'll find it for you guys.
We'll
find it.
We'll do that.
Yeah, just do that because I don't want to have to touch back on another YouTube. But while he's doing that,
I mean, we didn't have to. You mentioned it anyway.
Let's find out who formulated the Tesseract, right? And the Tesseract is in a object, basically in the fourth dimension. How the fourth dimension space would be, right? How space would be in the fourth dimension. Yeah. It's an object that explains how objects look in the fourth dimension. And if I visually show you, it'll be a lot easier. So the
term Tesseract was pioneered by British mathematician Charles Howard Hinton in 1880. He coined the word to describe a four-dimensional hypercube, creating mathematical models and mental exercises to help people visualize the fourth dimension.
And that is the Tesseract, ladies and gentlemen.
It also mentioned the MCU. The Marvel.
The Marvel, that's what it was. Yep, that's hilarious.
It's a space stone. That's awesome.
So basically it's a square within a 3D square, right? I used to always draw 3D squares as a kid.
Yeah, we all did, right?
Right, we all did. NES, right? And so I think it's pretty cool. I just wanted to throw that in there.
So think of like the first dimension, right? So actually, these tiles are
a perfect explanation.
So right here, right? So can I see that right? So right, this one. So this one right here. So right, you have one dimension, right? Or you have one dimension, right? This is length, right? And then you have the second dimension, right? And then you turn that into width, right? And then if you connect those two at right angles and extend them, you get a square, right?
A plane.
Right, a plane, right? But then
a flat plane.
And then you extend these corners also upward, right? And extend them and connect them, and that's where you get this cube,
Right.
You get a
Cube.
cube,
That's the
right?
world we live in, the 3D square.
Right. So
But if you take a
so
same square,
and that so you take that same cube, right, and extend it at its vertices. That would be a 3D representation of a four-dimensional cube.
so it's a world within a world.
Yeah, it's a cube within a cube.
So that could possibly be like life within itself.
Yeah.
Like consciousness is big, man. You know, we don't know where we go after that.
You also mentioned the word cube too. I just want to say, great movie.
Yeah, I never watched it. I'm
You
gonna
ever watch it? I'm not gonna do any spoilers.
What is it? Cube?
Yeah, no, it's cube.
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 Cube?
Yeah, cube. The cube.
I'm probably going to.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm
Yo,
gonna look it
comment
up tonight.
if everybody's seen Cube or any of the sequels, Hypercube. That's a crazy movie.
Right.
A lot of geometry, a lot of planes and quote dimensions, if you
We
will.
touched on these.
All right, then we're good then.
Yeah. But we have not done last final one, which is actually my favorite.
Which actually we'll get into even deeper too. So that's just one aspect of it. But if you
It kind of is both, and we're not even gonna go with this. This is just off script, this is not a script. This is just a layout of everything we just talked about. We're kind of gonna go off script, and we're gonna be talking about paranormal and higher dimensional theory, and nothing that we have here is gonna be needed, right? Personally, I think this jumps back to what I said earlier, right? You have 4 dimensions. Dimension 1, right? A being in the first dimension would look at a being in the second dimension as a god.
Mhm.
Now let's go back out. Also, a being in the third dimension would look at a being in the fourth dimension as a god, right? Therefore, God, notice how I didn't say I was an alien. Right? Let me make that difference, because aliens on other planets, etc., will still be susceptible to our time and stuff. I feel like once you jump back from, or jump up a dimension, is where you would be a god, right? To that dimension below you, right? And as a god, in a higher dimension, you'd be able to listen to a whole bunch of prayers all at once. You could be everywhere at once. You can reach your hand in and interfere with our world, but we wouldn't be able to interfere with your world.
like that one scene in Interstellar.
Which one?
Interstellar. Remember that one scene where he comes back, but he's in the fourth dimension and pushes the bookcase?
Yes. Oh my god, I'm so glad he made it. Yes, if you guys never watched that movie, it's an absolutely great movie. I actually just watched it the other day, and I didn't remember. But Interstellar, who played it?
Matthew McConaughey.
Love him. Love him. I wish I could, I don't even drink, but I wish I could drink a beer with him. But, wow. Wowzers. I think he doesn't drink anymore either. But, yeah, that movie was great. He went, but it's so weird. Like, he accessed
The fourth dimension.
the fourth dimension by leaving the world.
With love.
With love. With love. The most powerful dimension. Love.
You was cracking
That had me mad, bro. They're talking about what's gonna get us back to Earth while there's millions of miles away. Love will get us back.
So cliche.
No, bro. We need engine power. So cliche, right? But I just think that's such a powerful way to kind of end the dimension talk right there.
It's love of dimension.
It's love of dimensions. We have love for dimensions, and I can't wait to leave this dimension and be reunited with my higher power.
Now, what if I told you?
What if he told you?
That, hypothetically speaking. Right?
Hypothetically speaking.
For entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
You do leave this dimension. And you sleep and dream.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing it back. I almost ended it. Yeah. What if we do leave this dimension? What if our dreams is its own dimension? What if deja vu is a parallel of, or it is a overlap of parallel universes? Right? So many more questions that we failed to touch on, and maybe we'll make a part 2 answering those.
Yeah.
Or do we keep going?
Or we could leave cliffhanger.
What's a cliffhanger?
Like leave them like edge them, and then kind of like
Cut
end
it.
it. And
Oh
then,
yeah, to be continued.
Yeah, like give a little teaser.
You have anybody in here? Yep. No, we don't. So yeah, let's do that. Right. So, what if dreams were a because that's gonna be our next one, right? Dreams.
It can be. We might as well. I was talking about this. This is probably gonna be a two-parter.
Yeah, this is probably gonna be a two. But you notice how our two-parter always ends up rolling into our next topic.
Yeah.
So I like that two-parter. We're gonna keep doing 2 parts, guys.
No, maybe not all the time, but
But the majority, and every time we do the second part, we'll be getting into the new topic as well,
touching
in
on
on
segue into it, right? Depending on, but it's going to be perpetual.
It's all perpetual, exactly. Yes, that way we're always talking something, always bringing something to you guys. I do appreciate all the likes, the comments.
Some of the comments.
Yeah. I do appreciate the support though, guys, and all the subscribers. A lot of work went into this week's discussion of dimensions.
Yeah, and so we're gonna leave you guys with a cliffhanger, and our next session is gonna be about spiritual realms.
You got me excited. You see this? I didn't even know. This is all live for you guys. Listen, you guys see those podcasts where they post it and they do edits. No, this is live, raw, uncut, freaking deep dives, man.
Uninterrupted,
except when you interrupt me. Which is like always. But, this is the flow, guys. And thank you for the shout out about the purple books. I thought you were talking about mine. But you were talking about his. Right, but we all got purple. Yes.
Everything
purple is for the Talking Knowledge Live color.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Now it is.
Now it is.
But before we do that, before we leave him with that cliff note, right?
Cliffhanger. Not cliff notes.
Right? I got a list of questions, okay? That if you guys are hearing this, I just want you to answer down below, okay? What if everything you see right now is only a fraction of what actually exists? What if there are entire layers of reality right here and we just can't perceive them? Is a dimension a place, or is it more like a direction we could just move in? If 2D being lived on a flat surface, how would it even begin to understand us?
And slices.
Are we actually limited by reality or just by what our brains can perceive? Those are 5 questions there, right? That I do want to answer you, then we leave you with the quick note. That's a quick note. Excuse my language.
Good thing it's not for kids.
So what if everything you're seeing right now is only a fraction of what actually exists? What if I don't have to say what if? I personally know if that's the truth. I know. What do you think?
So I think this really comes down to reminds me of correspondence theory, right? Which could be another possible topic.
Can we just do all the questions?
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Can I finish?
We should call this the interruption podcast.
Yeah. treat me like Taylor Swift and you're Kanye West. I'm gonna let you finish, but I got the best album of the whole year.
That was a good one, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna let you finish, but so correspondence theory, right? So there's this guy, right? His name of F.H. Bradley, right? And I'm not sure if I mentioned this in some other live sessions or not. Maybe you heard me drop the same quote, but I think it's relevant. Continues to be relevant. And he said that what we call facts are vicious abstractions of the concrete, right? And so to extend that, suffering, misery, confusion all comes from when we confuse what's partial with the whole, right?
Ooh, wow, that's deep. I like that one.
So when everything, right? So one aspect of reality, right? We try to project we tend to trend towards finality, closure, certainty, right? So we like neat explanations that explain everything, right? And that's kind of like trying to figure out a unified theory of everything, right? Trying to unify gravity and quantum mechanics, right? So we have all these partials trying to explain the whole. Are we ever really able to approach that completeness? I mean, we can approach it, right? But can we ever be it?
No.
No, at least not with our current perceptions, right? There's always going to be something more to it, right? Yeah. So I just want to throw that out there.
Right. So that leads us to our next question: is dimension a place, or is it just like a direction we can move in?
Why not both?
Why not both? Yeah, because if you think about, let's say time is a dimension, and the being lives in the fourth dimension. So that means they live in time, but they also can control.
Right. Or view all of it, right? They can see. They can.
But they can interfere with our time.
They can perceive the entire flow of time, the entire sequence of it, right? Whereas we move in time, but we are only able to move in one direction of it, which is forward.
Right, so they can. So I just saw this analogy the other day, right? Imagine a guy that was in jail. Right, you have a square. Right. Okay. First, let's bring it back a little bit. Let's imagine somebody in jail in the 2 dimension, right? It would just, if we looked at them, it would just be that. I don't know if you guys see that. Excuse me. So it would just be, that's all we would see, right? In a 2 dimension, but in the 3 dimension, we see the 3D square and them sitting in the middle of it, right? So somebody in time, in the 4th dimension, how would they be able to get out of that? You know, they'd be able to just access a time
when
they weren't there,
or before
when they weren't there. Time after or before we are stuck in there because we can't access those times. Right. It's a great way to describe that. All right. Next one. Excuse me.
He's a little bit under the weather.
If a 2D being lived on a flat surface, I already said that one. Sorry.
Wow.
Are we actually limited by reality, or just what our brains can process? I don't think we're limited to just reality. We're limited to our perception, our senses. Excuse me, and our perception.
Well, I also think too when we look at the constraints of reality, right? So when we try to understand existence, right, we can't perceive anything outside or before existence, right? So we are limited by that, by the very condition that we're seeking to understand.
But in a nutshell, it's because we're limited to our. Okay, yes, that's in a larger scale.
Yeah.
In our 3D world, we're also limited because imagine if all these things are right here, right now.
Yeah, they very well could be.
They're right here, right. Let's say there's a being in the 12th dimension sitting right in front of me. That goes into kind of. I keep coughing. So sorry, guys. That kind of goes into the paranormal, like spirits, souls, right? Like they move on to another dimension. They could very well be all around us, receiving life, having things that they interact with in their world that we do not see. And so when we cross paths, that we have deja vu or something. That's what I heard. But
I think that's a good segue into what we'll do later.
And that goes into our next question. If string theory is right, does that mean that there are... If string theory is right, does that mean that there are extra dimensions right here with us?
So, if string theory, right? I think the question kind of answered itself, right? Because when we look at string theory, right, when it adds these other dimensions in order to reconcile gravity and quantum mechanics, right? Those other dimensions, right? We can't perceive, right, or that they're hidden is because they're compactified, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be within the math of string theory. So
Why would the universe even need 10 or 11 dimensions just to function? I don't think it necessarily needs the dimension to function. Like, it's not like a domino effect. It very well could be.
very well could be. So like I think it really touches back to what string theory theorizes, and that these extra dimensions are required in order to make that, in order that the math works.
All right, so listen to this. This is a good point. So if it's a domino effect, then there has to be an end.
Does it?
Because that means it's wrapped up together. It's wrapped up. If not, then it won't be affected. It could just change. You know what I'm saying?
That's another, that's one thing that we didn't really get into. So there's that's part of like the 5 like extensions superstring theories, right? Where you have the point particles, right? And then you have these strings and bands, right? And then there's things which are called brains, right? BRANE. Brains, right? And actually the M in M theory, which is an extension of string theory, right? That's what the M stands for, membrane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of the brain, right? The membrane is kind of like all these one giant kind of band that's interacting and overlapping with.
Mm-hmm.
It almost kind of looks like imagine like a lava lamp, kind of going like in and out and within itself.
Right.
So that's could be a representation or interpretation of what the universe is, right? Or what other universes are. Or that there's this giant soup of universes colliding in and out in their own separate dimensions and levels.
Okay.
Yeah. In a nutshell.
Do you think math is discovering reality? Or trying to catch up to something bigger?
I think math explains reality. It could very well lead to discoveries like the math of string theory, general relativity. It predicts like there's thing with black hole, the existence of black holes, gravitational waves, gravitons in string theory, explaining gravity in a quantum explanation.
Right.
So there's a lot of partials, and like a lot of partials, and very few holes, right? So like a lot of chiefs, now a lot of chiefs and not a lot of Indians, right? So there's a whole lot of partials.
Don't get us canceled now. Okay.
Or there's a whole lot of attempted holes, right? But there are so few partials, right? Or which other way how it would go with that, because everything is partial, right? There's always some aspect of it. There's always
because we only have our perceptions,
right.
Our senses. We can only see what we measure to it. It could very have another formula of it that we just very well don't understand or perceive yet.
Right, like we have our known knowns, our known unknowns, our unknown knowns, and our unknown unknowns.
Yep.
That's a shout out to what's called Cartesian logic. That could be for another.
Right.
Get into what that is.
All right. So, but for next week, we're gonna be getting into
spiritual realms, possibly other dimensions, right? So this is a more spiritual, more philosophical,
right? Like souls, spirits. But just kind of in a way. We might touch on that. I don't know. We'll see.
And so, like in the same way, I just want to touch back, like the previous session, right? We talked about like the actual physical planet of Saturn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Its rings, its moons, right? And then the part after that, we talked about the god Saturn, right? And so now, what Chronos, right? To
Right.
the Greeks,
Mhm.
it was agricultural god to the Romans, right? And
Mhm.
so in that same kind of
Order.
split sequence, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about like the mathematical, scientific dimensions, right? And then we'll dive into the more spiritual traditions, right? Which is a lot of ancient traditions and cultures that have a lot of texts and a lot of writings on these other spiritual dimensions, right?
Right. Because it's not all math, guys. It's not just all math and games, you know.
Sure.
So it's not all math and games, guys.
Sure.
You haven't got that math?
No, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I just said sure.
All right, guys. Listen, how long have we been on here? 75 minutes.
75 minutes.
Not bad. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the likes, the comments. We really do appreciate you.
Just overall presence, just being able to sit back, listen to us, engage with the comments, all that good stuff.
Right. This is not an ordinary live session. This is a session where curiosity becomes a conversation. Conversation becomes transformation, where we ask questions that everybody is scared to ask, and where we get deeper. We think deeper, just to see beyond the surface of reality. Because the truth is, the more you question reality, the more reality questions you. And the more you understand, the more you can live. Okay? Until next time, we will see you in the next conversation. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. Peace out.